watching everybody up so much all day. I never saw one person.
Based on past experience.
Stuff.
I bet it's.
We're not losing hope. That's what I see.
I thank you for everything. I really do.
Everybody look forward to
Everybody doing your job.
Hey, I'm stationed. Yeah, no, I just got, it was effective April.
Man has had sons.
I thought you were still out there.
No,
Good job, y'all go real. I want somebody to take.
Hey Jarvis, way to go, man. Way to go.
Thank you.
Hell of a long search out here.
Glad nobody gave up. That's the main thing.
What'd you think? I mean, you and Don been running this damn thing the whole thing. What do you think when the word came that he was found?
You just don't know the relief that came over and all the emotions that came out. You know, I have a 15-year-old son, but I envision him, you know, a 3-year-old boy lost out in the woods, and I just don't know if that was my son, what I would be going through. And that's the attitude I brought into this, attitude James brought into it, Sheriff brought into it. That was our own kid out there. And we put our heart and soul into this deal, and I know that for a fact. And I know all the volunteers and the other officers put their heart and soul into it also.
Did you believe it was him that far away?
You know, we did the investigation side of it, all evidence. There was a lot of people that was being discouraged on the evidence side and saying that he was abducted or something happened, but all evidence pointed that he was here in those woods, and we kept the faith on that search.
Those woods are too rough too. Those thorns are hell.
Yes,
When you're ready.
You ready? Sheriff Sowell, tell me about the recovery, or actually basically the rescue, not the recovery.
Well, we never used the recovery word in this search, and it was a happy rescue. Citizen heard some noises, called in. Deputies went down there, placed him in their arms. He was alive and well. Called us, went down there, and took the mother. Sergeant Smith with our office has been with the mother all this time. They all went down there. Wonderful scene to see the mother embrace her child. He was a little thirsty, imagine that, and crying, but happy tears on his side, happy tears on his mother's side, happy tears on our side, and now they're on the way to the hospital, I do believe, Texas Children's, to get him checked out. The ambulance, first responders checked him out initially. The ambulance checked him out, and now they're taking him out to Texas Children's to get a thorough physical and check out. But he's talking, drinking water, and just a happy little boy.
He's drinking a lot of water.
Yeah, he's just, I mean, just, the mother's been strong during this, and the fact that none of the searchers gave up. We were not going to leave. Failure was not an option to be considered. Quitting was not an option to be considered. And I don't know, I haven't heard one person, whether it's law enforcement, citizens that were helping out here, all the search teams, the dog teams, and of course the media. I've never heard any of the media personalities here ever give up, and they've done a wonderful job of keeping the story alive and having the citizens watch the news. And I pleaded with everybody because we had not received any calls. We have not received any tips, and it was just so devastating and frustrating as the clock went on. Time was running short on us. And so it was a good day, very, very good day.
You ever had anything this long before in your career?
Not this long, not this frustrating without evidence or some tips, clues to go on. It's almost like he vanished. And how he made it out here with all the searchers and the drones and the helicopters is just one of those things. But bottom line, that's all history. He's alive.
What was running through your mind as far as finally having to face the fact, like we're not going to find it, we're going to have to stop the search now?
Well, I wasn't going to consider that until a few days from now. And I've had several people ask me that, and I said, we're not going to consider closing down. We're not going to consider quitting. Basically, I just shut them off. I didn't want to hear it. Not to be rude, but I just didn't want to hear it.
Fantastic. Thanks. Jarvis, tell me the investigation. I mean, a lot of people, like you're saying, a lot of naysayers, hey, he's been abducted, hey, he was taken off, everything else. Tell me about that.
Well, it was a combination of us, the state, and the FBI guys to track down every cell phone lead, every surveillance video, every witness in this whole subdivision, every house, everybody got interviewed. There was no evidence that supported that this guy left. Yes, there was 2 known suspects or subjects in the area when this incident happened, but we were able to corroborate why they were here and what they were doing, and we were able to relinquish them as being any suspects on this case. Everything we had pointed us to that he truly ran off into the woods. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this case really would not be solved unless the unsung hero of this case is a lady across the street. She's an elderly lady, Miss Graham, that saw the kid come out of the yard playing with the dog running down the street. Without her corroboration, without her story, I feel the investigation, the search would have probably went a different direction. She is the unsung hero that had the story, we believed her story, and led us to the path that the kid is out in the woods and continue to search. She is truly the hero in this case.
All right. Yep.
Sorry.
That's right.
And
Jarvis, go
if
ahead.
you don't believe in miracles or in God, this is a prime example to show that miracles do exist, and everybody should have faith in God.
Jarvis, give me your full name and title too.
It's Constable Blake Jarvis. I'm Precinct 2 Constable, Grimes County. I coordinated with the Sheriff's Office. I worked with the Sheriff's Office for many years. Left there, became Constable. They asked me to help assist on the investigation side, on the local side, investigation side in this case, where James Ellis and myself kind of divvied up duties where he ran the search side and we kind of worked on the investigation side, but we both worked as a unit, coalition together to get to the outcome we are today.
Appreciate it. Okay, tell me how this came about.
Well, I don't have all the great details.
Okay.
I've already read it 3 times today.
Oh,
Tell me.
she's tired. She just did the walkthrough with us, you guys.
I'm very
Can
tired.
you run me? Okay, you saw the dog. Where was it with the dog? Running down the street here?
You can read the information. It's all over. It's the same story over and over again. Here's something there.
Okay, tell me about the day that you saw the dog, the little boy with the dog.
The boy ran straight into the woods. I lost sight of him. And after that, we've just looked. But the boy and the dog were together. And I lost sight of the boy, and the dog came back from a different direction. So the boy kept going. You know where he is and where he's been found.
Mm-hmm.
So he went straight through those woods.
These woods are thick and thorny.
Oh, very thick and thorny. And from what I understand, he is well and happy. And
Oh, yeah.
he is in the hospital right
And
now.
most of it's thanks to you. I mean, they said.
Thanks to Lord Jesus. I didn't do nothing. I just saw him and said, he went that way. Go find him.
Do you expect this kind of outcome? Or were you worried about him too, being out there that long?
I really know I was doubtful, yes, that they'd find him alive. And I know he was very dehydrated, but I'm just happy he's alive. He's a strong little boy.
What were your first emotions?
Ma'am?
How'd you feel when you first heard that he was found?
Praise God. Praise God. What else do you say?
I'm elected Precinct 2 Constable of Grimes County. My prior history has always been in law enforcement for Grimes County. I was over all the investigators for many years for Grimes County until I became elected. We decided to divvy up roles where James was over the search side of it and coordinating the assets and the grids. and I kind of took over the role with a team of locals, state, and federal agents to take over the criminal investigation side. We've done numerous interviews, did a lot of cell phone information from the parents to witnesses. A lot of surveillance videos were looked at in the subdivision, outside the subdivision. Everything linked us to that the child truly ran away from home and ran down this road chasing a dog. The house that we're at, or behind us, with Miss Joyce Gramm, was one of our key witnesses in this case that linked and corroborated mom's information about the son running out of the house, chasing the dog, running out of the yard, excuse me, chasing the dog, running down the road. Miss Gramm saw that. Miss Gramm even motioned to mom to hurry up and he's running away. Before they got to him, he disappeared and they couldn't catch him. So every evidence that we had on this case from state, local, and federal level linked us to where we were at to searching these woods. That's why the amount of resources were used to continue search, to push the volunteers to continue searching the woods. It's short of a miracle that the person found the child over 3 miles away in his backyard, or his wooded backyard behind his residence, to lead us to the recovery of them.
So, you know, those moments leading up to, you know, him being lost and the resources being used, you know, utilized throughout 4 days. I mean, and today he was found.
Yes.
I mean, could you just describe hearing that news?
Oh, it was joy. I mean, you know, we put, I can honestly say, the investigators side, the search side, put their heart and soul into this case. We firmly believe there's no foul play. We really put our heart and soul that he was out in these woods. And it's heart-wrenching to know that if a child is out there that could be dying of starvation or thirst, that the urgency to find him, you know, it really pulls on everybody's heartstrings. I mean, I know you saw a lot of the officers emotional, some of the volunteers emotional, because it hits home. I mean, we all have kids. Either everybody has a child or a grandparent or has a nephew or niece, and we all look at it, we're all human. We all look at it as, what if that was our niece? What if that was our son or daughter or nephew out in those woods? You know, we would do everything in our power to try to bring him home. And thank God for the person searching back of his property and found him to the recovery of him.
Blake,
If you don't believe in miracles or believe in God, this is a prime example to show that miracles do exist, and you should believe in and have faith in God.
what made him go back there and check, Blake? Did you hear the child?
The story that we have, but it probably needs to be interviewed, is the person that found the child, his name is Tim. He was at Bible study today. He had a belief or some type of vision that he needed to go check back at his property. He told us that God told him that he needed to go back there. He did go back there, and he heard a muffled cry that sounded like a kid. And he immediately called in to dispatch, immediately got transferred to our command staff. The command staff then put it out to a group of officers, went to go follow up on the lead, because we've been following up on numerous leads and calls, this type of incident, or these type of calls that are going out that people heard something. They went out there, he went back into the woods, heard the cry again, and walked into it until he found the kid and brought the kid out holding his hand. And by that time, the responders got there and was able to call medics and got him water. He's been treated by medics. He's going to the local hospital to be treated. He's in good, stable condition, what appears. He is cut up, nicks and bruises all over his body. This time we do feel there's no foul play at all in this case. Firmly believe that he left here on foot and walked to that area. The boy's alert, talking. He told us that he walked to that area. He was lost, disoriented, and he just kept walking.
There's pretty much a high line runs almost between here and Crown
There's a high
Ranch.
line that he walked down for a majority of it. Yes. You know, he's a tough little kiddo. I'll have to give him that.
But he lost his Mickey Mouse shoes.
He did lose his Mickey Mouse shoes. So,
If I could just get this for logistics, could you say and spell your first and last name for me and state your position?
it's Blake Jarvis, B-L-A-K-E, Jarvis, J-A-R-V-I-S. It's Precinct 2 Constable, Grimes County.
And by any chance, could you restate her first and last name and spell it for me?
Her name is Joyce Gramm. J-O-C-E, maybe?
Joyce probably.
J-O-Y-C-E, Gramm, G-R-A-M-M.
I appreciate it. Thanks. What is it?
Looks like.
Oh my gosh.
I know where you're going with this, and I understand it. Okay, but that's what he looked like the moment that I got eyes on him, and that's what you wanted to see. That's what he looks like, which is very healthy to me. That's really good. Okay.
Tim, after our discussion yesterday, you were really having some doubts. You're kind of starting to wonder what to do next. You said this has been one of the hardest ones you've had.
Yeah, hardest, longest. The emotions yesterday, sitting in that chair and everything, and it was like, should we even come back? You know, it was exhausted, no sleep, hot. Said we have to come back. You know, we have to come back and.
Thank you.
Start over.
It's all right.
But yeah, yesterday sitting in that chair when we was talking, and I didn't even want to get out of the chair. I mean, I was beat up physically, more beat up emotionally. Just saying again, what did we do wrong? What could we do different? And I dreaded the ride all the way back to home for 2 hours, and then my girlfriend said, let's get a motel, because she wasn't here, and she brought me clean clothes and stuff. We stayed in a motel 30 minutes from here. I got a little bit more rest, came out here this morning and was out with the searchers, and it was like, man, by the end of the day, there's nothing else. So literally hours before this was probably going to be suspended with nothing else to go on or do. It's we got that magical call. So I mean, it's the second time in 21 years we had a little baby that just, in my heart, just thought it was the end, and I was wrong, man. I like being wrong. I like being wrong.
He was found about 3 miles away. Was that even in the grid pattern that y'all had for the search?
It was out there in the pattern, because we were spreading out, and what took so long, unfortunately, is everything was so thick, so it would take us 4 times longer to go ahead and clear areas, and then we'd do the areas 2 or 3 times to make sure we didn't miss anything. And I don't know, I talk a lot, but I'm almost speechless now, you know, if that's possible. But and then to just meet the lady that really seen him leaving with the dog, and now over here with the family, it's if there's any place in the world I'd rather be, it'd be right here where he's at today.
Mr. Miller, with your own experience that you shared with me and the reason why you started this organization, how does it feel to be able to, you know, literally empathize and put yourself in the mother's shoes?
You know, when Laura's body was found after 17 months, and the longest time of my life, of course, and then I got to that point, I said, and I remember every minute of that, you know, 17 months, and I don't know what happened, but I just told God and Laura I could never leave a family alone if there's anything we could ever do, and did I ever think we'd be here? Not really in the beginning, and then we just slowly grew, and man, because of Laura's death, we've worked with so many families all over the country, in different countries, and we've had, there was one other experience like this, but it was 12 years ago, and at that time I never ever thought that was possible to happen again, and here it is. And you know, I used to walk up to Laura's cross, and I'd stand in front of it and say, "Don't hate your dad. I got to say goodbye, and I got to put my life back together." And I'd be walking away and she said, "Dad, don't quit, and I didn't know what the hell she was talking about, and here we are.
Making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Big difference.
A small difference in a troubled world, but just being a part of it, and and being a little asset and everybody working together for the right reasons. God answers a lot of prayers, a lot of them, and this is a big one. I didn't think he was going to answer this one. He did it. He did it. That's it.
Sheriff's waiting on us.
Bye-bye. Y'all happy found now? Thank y'all. Hang on a second. Let's see here. You ready?
So I know you're not the, and I'm not recording it, but
Okay.
I just,
Go ahead and
I
run-
just
go ahead and
wanted
run
to
it.
ask if I could possibly get you on camera because I know you're not.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Tim, tell us.
Thanks for respecting that.
Tell us
Okay.
how this whole thing came about.
So last night I was in a Bible study that we have every other Friday, and there were a number of people talking about this little boy who's been lost, and it was news to me. This is the first I'd heard of it, but I'm not paying attention to news, anything, and so I was prompted then by the Spirit to say, "You will go look for that boy tomorrow. You will search the woods." And so I said, okay. And so our group at the end, we always do a lot of prayer times. We were praying for him. And now it's 2 days. Today makes the third day. And so I got up this morning, did my Bible study, devotional time, prayer time, like I try to do every day. And my wife came in and said, "What are you going to do today?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go out in the woods and see if I can find that boy." And I did.
How long were you out there looking for him?
I left here at 10:15, and I found him at 11:30. And he was only like 3/4 of a mile up the pipeline here. I kind of went off on some different rabbit
So
trails.
he was along the pipeline then?
Yeah, just right. He's probably 10 yards into the woods, the thicket.
Did you
Totally.
hear him or?
Well, I was walking up the pipeline, and I heard a noise. But it sounded like maybe it could be an animal in distress. Sometimes deer will do that. They'll kind of make noises like you think it's maybe a human. So I'm walking a little bit further, and I'm really listening hard. I'm wanting to hear a child, right? And so then I hear what sounds like a human child in distress. But I couldn't understand the words. As it turns out, he only speaks Spanish. And I couldn't understand what he might have been saying. But every time I heard, I yelled out, "Hello, hello!" Didn't get a response. So I'm thinking, this is weird. And so as soon as I heard it the second time, I'm calling Grimes County to let them know, "Hey, send somebody out here. I've heard this sound twice, and so I think he could be here." And they came out, and I told them where to go looking, and they started looking. Like I said, I think I heard the noise up the pipeline a little further off to the right. And they were doing their thing, and they're yelling for Christopher, Christopher, and now I know his name. And so as I'm walking back down the pipeline to come back home, and I hear the noise. I stop, and then I said, "Christopher!" And this time I got a response. Prior to that, I never got a response when I yelled out, but I called his name, and he responded. And he kept talking, and I just went through the thicket of the woods, and I found him and picked him up, and he was totally naked, no shoes, no clothing, nothing. He might have had a few scratches, but I didn't check him out to see. But he was unscathed. Been out of the woods for 3 days without food or water. Picked him up. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't nervous. He was calm. And there had been a lot of people out of this community praying for that little boy. Many had given up hope. And the story is, don't give up hope.
That's right.
And God's still in the miracle business. He's still answering prayer.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely is. Definitely is.
Yep.
How far is it from here where you found him at?
Probably 3/4 of a mile.
Pretty good walk back into there?
Yeah, it's up the pipeline. There's not. It's a cleared pipeline.
Oh, it's cleared pipeline? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Be able to get that message, and you walk out holding him. I mean, what does that mean for you?
What it tells me is when God prompts you to do something, You have to do it. And there wasn't any doubt in my mind. God has prompted me a few times in my life, and there was no doubt He wanted me to do something. For what reason, I didn't know, but today it's just to be obedient and open and letting Him do what He. Sometimes in the busyness of life, we can shut Him out when He might want us to do something.
Mm-hmm.
How has this experience emotionally moved you? I see your eyes are a little glazy.
Oh, it's been a little crazy. I mean, it's, I haven't been as invested in this whole story like so many other people have been. They've been praying for days, and for me it was news last night to me. And just confirms what I already know, that God has a plan. And He can use any of us if we're willing to submit to that plan. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Okay.
You got it? Okay, thanks. Tim, you said y'all walk these woods quite a bit?
We walk these woods. I'm very familiar with the pipeline. I'm aware of all the little logging trails, roads that are branching off everywhere. And I knew, I would assume if I was a small child and didn't know what to do, I would try to stay in where it's a clearing, an opening. So for me, that was going to be somewhere along the pipeline or along one of the logging trails where he'd be, not in the thicket, in the brush and the briar and all that stuff.
How is it back in your area? Is it just like on the other side, do thorns, huge thorns and everything else through there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In fact, to get to him, I had a machete with me. I'm going to have to whack some stuff out of the way to get to him.
How is this?
A few little minor scratches. See?
Oh yeah, you got a couple in there. This area back here, was this part of the Crown Ranch fire? Did this area burn in 2011 too?
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually reforested that quick, huh?
It has. In fact, we had a bunch of the fire trucks camped out here on this property. I've got a pond down here. They're pulling water out of my pond, and part of my property burned here. It came that close. Mm-hmm. But God's always protected this little spot. We've had wind shears come through and blow over trees, and flatten cars, and all kind of stuff. So.
Right.
So
but we've always been protected.
Kind of like your property, right?
Everything on this side of the road down to the main. I've got 15 acres here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could just ask you one thing for logistics, could you say your first and last name for me and spell it?
Run the first name. Don't run the last name.
Yeah.
He'll be bombarded.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's Tim.
Oh, I gotcha.
Tim.
Sorry, still learning here.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I don't want this to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
You what?
So that's a nasty pond.
You should see him.